They say you never truly see who someone is until you become inconvenient to them. If only I had realized this before my stroke, before my daughter's smile took on a different meaning, before I signed away my life in exchange for what I thought was love. My name is Margaret, and at 63, I've learned that the hardest betrayals aren't dramatic explosions. They're slow, quiet thefts that happen while you're looking the other way. And sometimes, the person stealing pieces of your life is the same person you once rocked to sleep. The morning everything changed started like any other Tuesday. I was making my coffee, Colombian dark roast with just a splash of cream, the same way I'd made it for 30 years. My left hand trembled slightly as I reached for the sugar, but I ignored it. At 63, you get used to your body throwing little tantrums. When I dropped the mug, I thought I was just being clumsy. But then, the world tilted sideways, and half my body seemed to disappear. I remember the cold tile against my cheek and thinking, absurdly, about who would water my orchids if I died right there on my kitchen floor. I didn't die. Sometimes, in the darker moments that followed, I wondered if that might have been easier. The stroke took the left side of my body, my independence, and, though I didn't know it yet, my home. But what it gave me was a clarity I hadn't possessed in decades. It's amazing how quickly priorities shift when half your body stops working and you can't even go to the bathroom without assistance. "Mum, this is temporary," my daughter Amanda said 3 days later in the hospital, her manicured hand resting gently on mine. "You'll stay with us until you're back on your feet." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? This was my daughter, the little girl who once made me get well cards when I had the flu, the teenager who, despite her rebellions, always had a soft spot for her mother, the woman who called me every Sunday without fail, even after she married Richard and moved across town to that house that always felt too big, too cold. "Just until you're stronger," she repeated, her voice honeyed with concern. And in her eyes, I swear I saw genuine love. Or maybe I just saw what I desperately needed to see. The first week at Amanda's house was fine. Awkward, but fine. Richard was polite in that distant way of his, nodding hello but rarely making conversation. Their kids, my grandchildren, were initially fascinated by Grandma's robot arm, my partially paralyzed limb in its brace, but children move on quickly. Soon I was just another piece of furniture in their busy lives. Amanda had converted their home office into a bedroom for me on the first floor. "So you don't have to worry about stairs, Mum." The room was small but functional, with a hospital bed that Richard's company insurance had somehow fast-tracked. There was a TV mounted on the wall that I never asked for, and a baby monitor on the nightstand, just in case you need anything during the night. I was 63, not 93, but I was grateful, or trying to be. It wasn't until the third week that I noticed the papers on Amanda's desk when she wheeled me past her study. Just a glimpse. Property assessments, market valuations, my house, my home of 40 years, where I'd raised her, where I'd mourned her father, where I'd planned to live out my days surrounded by memories that had seeped into the very walls. "Just getting things organized," she said when I asked, her smile tight. "You need to focus on getting better." That night, I lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar creaks of someone else's house, and felt the first icy fingers of doubt crawl up my spine. There's a specific kind of terror that comes with dependency, a vulnerability that strips you bare. I'd been a widow for 15 years, fiercely independent. Now I couldn't even dress myself without help. The next morning, as Amanda helped me with my physical therapy exercises, I said, "When I'm better, I'd like to go home." Her hands paused on my arm mid-stretch. "Mum, be realistic. You might never live alone again." The words landed like a physical blow. "But with modifications, maybe a caregiver coming in. On your pension? In this economy?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Besides, we've talked about this. Remember?" We hadn't. Not once. But the certainty in her voice made me question my own memory. Another casualty of the stroke, apparently. Had we discussed this? Had I forgotten entire conversations? I tried again the next day and the day after. Each time, Amanda became increasingly frustrated. "Mum, you're being difficult. We're trying to help you." And they were helping, technically. I had a roof over my head. I had meals prepared for me. Amanda drove me to my therapy appointments. Richard's insurance covered equipment I needed. I should have been grateful. But at night, alone in that sterile room that wasn't mine, I'd catch myself touching the walls, trying to find something familiar to hold on to. Nothing in that space belonged to me, except the clothes in the drawers and a few photographs Amanda had brought from my house. Where were my books, my collection of hand-painted teacups, the quilt my grandmother had made? "We're sorting through things," Amanda would say. "Storage issues, you know." I didn't know, but I was beginning to suspect. 6 weeks after my stroke, on a rare afternoon when I was alone in the house, I managed to drag myself to Amanda's study using my walker. My physical therapist would have been proud of the distance I covered, though perhaps not the purpose. The file was right there on her desk, not even hidden. Powers of attorney, Margaret Eleanor Summers. My fingers trembled as I opened it, and this time, it wasn't the stroke. There, in legal language too complex for my foggy brain, was documentation transferring decision-making rights to my daughter. Medical power of attorney made sense. I'd signed that years ago, just in case. But this was different. This was everything. Financial decisions, property, assets. And at the bottom of one page, a signature. Mine. Except I had no memory of signing this. The date on the document was 3 days after my stroke, when I was heavily medicated, when the neurologist was still explaining the concept of informed consent to my family because I was drifting in and out of lucidity. Next to it was another file, real estate listings in my neighborhood, comparable sales, a draft listing for my house, ready to go on the market. The projected sale price made my stomach lurch. It was far below market value, but promised a quick sale. I was still staring at the papers when I heard the front door open. "Mum, what are you doing in here?" Amanda's voice sliced through the silence. She moved quickly, gathering the papers, shoving them into a drawer. "You shouldn't be up without supervision. What if you'd fallen?" "I signed these." My voice sounded strange, distant. "When did I sign these?" "At the hospital. Don't you remember? The doctor said it was important to get your affairs in order." She knelt beside my chair, her face a mask of concern. "Mum, your brain is still healing. You're getting confused." And for a terrible moment, I believed her. The stroke had taken things from me. Words, sometimes. Short-term memories. The ability to feel sensation in my left hand. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had signed these papers and forgotten. But then I saw it. The edge of another document peeking from the drawer she'd hastily closed. My house deed. "I want to speak to a lawyer," I said quietly. Amanda's face changed then. Subtle, but unmistakable. The concern hardened into something else. Something cold. "You have a lawyer. Richard's cousin helped us set everything up." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Mum, you're tired." Let's get you back to your room. Not my room. Never my room. No. The word felt powerful in my mouth. I want my own lawyer. From before. James Barton? He retired years ago. He hadn't. I'd spoken to him 3 months before my stroke about updating my will. That's when I knew for certain. The realization was like a second stroke, sudden, devastating, changing everything in an instant. My daughter was lying to me, had been lying, was planning to sell my house out from under me. And I had nowhere to go. That night, I did something I hadn't done since Amanda was a colicky baby. I cried myself to sleep. But these weren't just tears of sadness. They were tears of rage, of determination. The stroke had taken half my body, but it hadn't taken my mind. Not completely. Not yet. I needed allies. Who? Amanda had effectively isolated me. My old neighbors thought I was recovering comfortably with my devoted daughter. My few surviving friends were told I wasn't up for visitors yet. The only people I saw regularly were medical professionals, always with Amanda present, monitoring every word. But there was one person who came without Amanda's supervision. Louisa, the physical therapy assistant who visited twice a week when Amanda was at work. Young, perpetually cheerful Louisa, who pushed me hard but fairly, who treated me like a person rather than a burden. "You're quiet today, Mrs. Summers," Louisa remarked during our next session, as she helped me practice grasping objects with my weakened hand. I hesitated. If I was wrong about Amanda, speaking up would destroy my relationship with my only child. If I was right, I couldn't afford not to try. "Louisa," I said carefully, "if someone needed legal help but couldn't get out easily, how would they find a lawyer?" Her eyebrows rose slightly, but to her credit, she didn't miss a beat. "These days, many do video consultations. My mother used one when her landlord was giving her trouble. She didn't ask why I wanted to know. She didn't need to. Something in my expression must have conveyed the urgency. The next session, she brought me a prepaid phone, slipping it to me during our exercises. "My old one," she explained casually, "was just gathering dust in a drawer. Thought you might like it for games or whatever." Or whatever. That night, after the house went quiet, I called James Barton from under my covers, like a teenager breaking curfew. His shock at hearing my situation quickly turned to professional concern. "Margaret, what you're describing is extremely troubling," he said after I explained everything. "If you signed documents while medically incapacitated, we may be able to challenge them. But I need to see you in person, assess your current competency. I can't get out without her knowing. Then I'll come to you. Is there any time you're alone in the house?" And so the plan was set. The following Tuesday, when Amanda was at her weekly lunch with friends and the kids were at school, James would come. We would have 30 minutes, 45 at most. For the first time since my stroke, I felt something like hope. The confrontation, when it finally happened, wasn't the dramatic scene I'd imagined. There were no shouting matches, no tearful confessions. Just Amanda and Richard sitting stiffly across from me at their dining room table, James Barton beside me with his folder of evidence. "What you've done is at best unethical and at worst criminal," James stated flatly. "The power of attorney obtained while Mrs. Summers was medically compromised will not hold up in court, nor will any property transactions executed using it." Amanda didn't cry, didn't apologize. She looked at me with something like disappointment, as if I was the one who had betrayed her. "We were trying to protect you," she said. "You can't live alone anymore. The house was just sitting there, losing value. So you thought you'd cash it in?" The words tasted bitter. "Without asking me. That house is all I have. No, Mom. You have us, your family. We've put our lives on hold to take care of you. For 6 weeks. After I'd spent 20 years raising her, putting her through college, helping with the down payment on this very house. I'd rewritten the math of our relationship in my head so many times since discovering those papers. The calculation never came out in her favor. Richard spoke for the first time. The market's hot right now. We could have gotten you a nice place in Sunny Meadows with the proceeds. Sunny Meadows, the assisted living facility on the edge of town. The place Amanda had taken me to visit her friend's mother once, where the halls smelled of industrial cleaner and despair. And what about the difference? I asked. Between the sale price and what Sunny Meadows would cost? Their silence was answer enough. That was 4 months ago. I'm writing this now from my own home. Yes, the same one Amanda was so eager to sell. It's been modified with ramps and grab bars. I have a live-in aide named Elena, who occupies the converted garage apartment and helps with the things I still can't manage alone. The cost comes from a reverse mortgage. Not ideal, but it's my choice. My decision. And at the end of my life, whatever remains will go to my grandchildren's education fund, held in a trust that neither Amanda nor Richard can access. As for my relationship with my daughter, it's complicated. We talk, occasionally. Stilted conversations about the weather, the kids. She's never apologized. I'm not sure she thinks she did anything wrong. In her mind, she was being practical, making the hard decisions. Maybe she even believes she was acting out of love. But love doesn't try to profit from vulnerability. Love doesn't lie and manipulate. Love doesn't steal choice. The stroke changed me, and not just physically. I see more clearly now, feel more deeply, recognize the profound difference between care and control. Last week, I started attending a creative writing class at the community center. Elena drives me there, helps me get settled with my special keyboard. My left hand still doesn't cooperate fully. I'm the oldest in the class by at least 20 years, but when I read my work aloud, they listen. I'm writing about betrayal, yes, but also about discovery, about finding strength in broken places, about building a life that's different, but still mine. Sometimes I wonder if Amanda will read this someday and recognize herself, recognize what she almost took from me, not just a house, though that would have been bad enough, but agency, dignity, the right to write my own ending. My left side may be weaker, but my voice is stronger than it's ever been. And this time, I won't be silenced. If you've ever faced a betrayal by someone you trusted completely, especially family, you know that hollow feeling when the floor drops out from under you. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments, not because misery loves company, but because sharing our truths helps us all feel less alone. Sometimes the most powerful words in the world are simply, "That happened to me too, and I survived."